everyone, how you doing today? I'm Kirsty and I'm coming at you today with the gift a book tag. Yeah, that is right.
Roll the footage.
This is a tag that I saw on Chelsea Zhao's channel and I thought was really cool, especially as she's taken this tag and turned it into sort of giving you guys ideas for if you want to gift somebody a book but you're not quite sure what vibes you want to go for. It's just a really good list to kind of give you some suggestions and ideas. And this was actually originally created by Catherine Zafria, who I will link below for you. And basically there are 10 questions for you to give book recommendations. And yeah, I've got a bit of a mixed bag, so let's get into it. First book is a book that's going to give you a smile. I have gone with Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Susanto. If you enjoy The Hangover, Bridesmaids, trying to think of any sort of like rom-com like that, or generic comedy where there's just chaos, I think you will love this book because the relationship between Medi and her aunties is hilarious. And it's just a book that is chaotic from page 1 all the way through to the end. Some bits I really didn't like, but I did find it quite funny. It did make me smile, and I think if you enjoy comedies, you will actually really enjoy this book. Book number 2 is give a book that you don't talk about very often. For me, this will be Geekerella by Ashley Poston. I read this last year, I gave it 5 stars, and anytime anybody asks if I would recommend it, I say yes. I just don't talk about it very much. And this is like a contemporary Cinderella retelling centered around geeky conventions and cosplay and sci-fi and nerds, and basically features a reboot of a sci-fi program that's being brought back. The main character just ends up talking to, without realizing it, communicating with the lead of that. And it's just a really cute story with clever and new ways that they've reinvented Cinderella, and I just loved it and I thought it was a great time. Number 3, give a book that you can't stop talking about, and probably to nobody's surprise, I'm going with Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. I do talk about this book a lot because it is fantastic, and I think everyone should read this book, especially if you like YA, especially if you like LGBT, especially if you like any sort of Hispanic or Latin inspired books. It's all there. Great characters, fantastic relationships, and I just think it's a brilliant book that had some twists I did see coming, had some things I didn't see coming, and had me in tears on the bus. So yeah, I think it's a brilliant book. Number 4 is give a book that people are either going to love or they're going to hate. For me, I'm going to go with the series, and that is the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. A lot of people hate this book because it's so heavily on the dark themes. It's got sexual assault in there. It's a very sexual book in general. Like the opening chapter starts with an orgy going on. So, you know, it is very sexual, and that puts a lot of people off. But also a lot of people are triggered from the manipulation tactics of King Midas, and a lot of people just don't get on with that, which I understand. And certainly in the first book, a lot of people really hate the main character, myself included. Couldn't stand her, didn't want to continue the series until the last 3 or 4 chapters. I'm so glad I stuck with it though, because book 4 destroyed me and currently is in my top few books for the year. So I'm glad I stuck with it, but it is one of those series that if you can get through the traumatic and triggering scenes, it is fantastic. And I think it is one of those books that does divide the community. You either hate it and don't get on with it, or you really love it and really get on board with it. Number 5 is give a book for someone who needs to get in their feels. I'm coming back to Aidan Thomas with this one, and I've chosen Lost in the Neverwoods. This book had me openly sobbing. It's a very roller coaster book. It's got some really joyful, beautiful moments. It's got some really sad and beautiful moments. And this book did absolutely, it went in a direction I did not expect it to go. And I was like, oh. And it is Peter Pan retelling. So years ago, Wendy and her brothers disappeared, but only Wendy came back, and she has no memory of that time. Now there are other children who are disappearing in a similar fashion, so she ends up teaming up with Peter to find out what the evil is that's doing it, put a stop to it, but it does go in very different directions to what I was expecting. And yeah, it was very emotional. Definitely one that if you want to get into your feels, I recommend. And number 6 is to give a book with immaculate vibes. And this one's very open to interpretation for you to see fit, but there was one book that came straight to mind as being both immaculate and vibey. It also links in with a book to give feels, and that book is Enough by Kevin Dorman. Honestly, it's a book in verse based on Kevin's own experiences with mental health and the family abandonment. And honestly, I felt so seen in this book. And the reason I've given this book like immaculate vibes is it is a book that makes you feel seen and heard if you've had any of those kind of suicidal thoughts, or if you've gone through family trauma and abandonment, or if you've got any sort of mental health problem. This book just put things into words and put my thoughts on a page, and it was like, I feel heard and understood. And yeah, it was just immaculate from start to finish. Number 7, give a book for someone who likes to be surprised. There were multiple things that I could have done with this, like a book that you might think's going one way and goes another, or a book that had plot twists or something like that. I've ended up going with The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. I can't really say much because of spoilers, but I will say this book surprised me in about 7 different ways. And everyone that I know that has read it, unless they're someone who is lying or just that good at reading, everybody that I know that has read this book said that this book surprised them at the end and they went, whoa. So even if you guess most of what's going on, I can guarantee there will be 1 or 2 things in this that that you won't realise until the end, and then you go, holy crap. This one's definitely one for like surprise endings and for not being able to guess everything that's going to happen. It was brilliant. Number 8 is give a book for someone who needs a little love. And for this, I've gone for a book that gave me such huggy, lovey feels and made me so happy and had me going the whole way through, and that is A Man and His Cat. It is a manga, but it follows, you've got this elderly or older gentleman whose wife has passed away and he's been alone for a little while. So he decides to get himself a cat, and he ends up picking the unwanted and unloved cat from the pet store, brings him home, and it's just a beautiful story of these 2 beings learning each other, and him learning about how to look after a cat, the cat learning that he's no longer alone and that there is someone who wants him. And there's just so many beautiful moments, and just watching their bond build and their relationship grow is one of the most beautiful things ever. And yeah, if you need a book to make you feel loved, and especially if you love cats, absolutely read this series. Number 9 is give a book that's an old favourite. Nalini Singh, of course. She's not like my oldest favourite because obviously I had all my childhood stuff, but as an adult I would say she's the one that I've probably read the most and the longest. For the first couple of years at uni I didn't really read, but then when I hit about 20 and I started to get back into reading, it was Nalini Singh that got me back into reading. It was the Guild Hunter series that got me back into reading, but the Side Changeling is the series that has completely blown me away, and is obviously the one that I've reread and reread and reread. So I would definitely recommend that as my old favourite. And then finally, book 10 is give a book that you think everyone should read. And for this, I have chosen A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This series, for me personally, was absolutely immaculate. It's got some of my all-time favourite characters in it. It's got my favourite tropes. It's got a really easy to understand magic system. It's fun. It's got different things that go on in each book. They don't feel like the same book over and over again. And I just feel like the pacing's fantastic. The emotions are there. It had me crying at the end because I didn't want it to finish. And yeah, I just think it's a perfect series, especially for fans of fantasy. So if you like fantasy, it is a must-read series if you haven't yet already. And it hurts when I know that there are people who don't enjoy it. And I'm like, no, how can you not? But anyway. Oh, for God's sake, the cat's attacking birds again. Wait. Shush. Shush. Hey everyone, Editing Kirsty here. I completely forgot to actually do the giveaway bit. So, to be in with the chance of winning yourself a book off of your Amazon wishlist, please comment below with the book that you have gifted the most and why it is that you have gifted it so often, what it is about it that you love, and I will pick a random commenter 7 days after this video has uploaded, so that will be on the 10th of December. I will pick somebody and I will be in touch with you to send you your book off your Amazon wishlist. So those are my books that I've selected for the Give a Book challenge, and yeah, I hope maybe you've got some ideas there either for things to gift to other people, or maybe I've given you some ideas of books that you might want to add to your own wish lists. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of the books that I've recommended, or if you've got any recommendations of your own for any of these prompts. It's always cool to hear your views. And yeah, I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you enjoyed this tag. Consider yourself tagged if you do these kind of videos. I'd love to see your responses. And I will see you on the next video.